German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has faced off against rival candidates for his job ahead of next Sunday's elections. The occasionally fiery television debate covered Germany's struggling economy, migration, the Ukraine war, and energy policy. It was the first time the far-right AfD party was allowed to participate in the main debate.
With less than a week until the election, something unprecedented on German TV, a four-way election debate. Pollsters say around a third of voters have yet to make up their minds, so this was a chance to persuade the undecided. Alice Weidel of the far-right Alternative for Germany, AfD, made her familiar pitch on the party's main focus, migration.
I simply want to put an end to these conditions in our country. And to do that, you have to secure our borders and deport the people who are in this country illegally and commit crimes consistently. And we will do it. We will do it on the first day.
Friedrich Merz of the Christian Democrats has been accused of drifting to the right and was keen to keep his distance from Weidel, for instance, on Ukraine.
No, Ms. Weidel, we are not neutral. We are not in between. We are on the side of Ukraine. And together with Ukraine, we are defending the political order that we have here. And the words that you have just spoken here are confirmation for me that I will do everything I can to prevent you from ever getting your hands on political responsibility in this country.
Chancellor Scholz defended his record in government, but also attacked Weidel for lacking ideas to boost the economy.
You're proposing we buy coal at the state's expense and then buy oil at the state's expense. Now that's what I call a plan. And then we give it to the people. Great plan. Brilliantly thought through. Really great.
Mr. Scholz, who are you actually campaigning for here?
Well, not for you, obviously.
You've betrayed your own voters.
You're evading the issue again, Ms. Weidel. You don't have a plan. We said you were blowing hot air. Now there's even more hot air.
The Green lead candidate, Deputy Chancellor Robert Habeck, who has run economic policy in Scholz's government, was left trying to explain the problems he faced.
Germany is an export nation, and the export markets are getting tighter and tighter, not least now due to American policies. And now the conditions are changing, we can see we've done far too little for German competitiveness in the last few years.
2 hours of emphasising differences, but at least two of these parties will have to work together after the election. With four voices battling to be heard, this was primetime politics that didn't necessarily make the voters' choice much easier.
Let's take a closer look at the debate with DW political correspondent Matthew Moore. Matthew, pretty heated debate there last night. What stood out to you?
Well, I think what stood out was really the presence of the AfD leader, Alice Weidel. Now, this is the first time, as we heard, that a far-right leader, a leader of the AfD, the Alternative for Germany party, has been able to sit in a live studio setting with the Chancellor and with the Chancellor candidates. And what was interesting was how she kind of, under the spotlight, how the other party leaders reacted to her. And it got heated in there. We saw in some of the clips just now. And we saw that she really came across as kind of, I thought she came across as quite short-tempered. She was irascible. But for the AfD, a huge milestone, because it kind of puts them in that setting with the other parties. It gives them that chance to kind of, if you like, for them to normalise themselves. But and it also just underlines the fact that now sitting with 20% in the polls, they're very much part of the debate, Nicole. So no longer possible to sideline the party. And it was interesting, as we saw there, Merz was really kind of under pressure not to make any mistakes. He's the front runner in the race. So for him, it was really about laying out the choice that voters have and not making any mistakes.
Mm-hmm. This, of course, now that you mentioned Merz, comes after he was slammed for trying to push through a legislative proposal with the help of the AfD, the far right. Under how much pressure was he last night to distance himself from them and from Alice Weidel?
Well, you got to remember that it's not just because of what happened in the Parliament, but it was also about the comments that the Vice President of the United States made on Friday, where he said that there should be no firewall. Now, this is the convention that German political parties have not to work with the far-right AfD. And then you had the Vice President of the United States saying that this was wrong and that parties should talk with one another. So there was a lot of pressure on Friedrich Merz since that speech to really to react to it and to lay a marker in the sand. And what he basically said last night, his first words and his last words were, "I will not work with this party." He called one of the leading figures in the party a Nazi. And so he really had to stress that throughout the evening. And I think his message came across loud and clear.
Well, Chancellor Olaf Scholz's SPD party is polling third at the moment, behind the CDU and the AfD. Reports say around 1/3 of Germans are still undecided with less than a week to go. Do you expect his performance last night to do much to persuade those?
This was a Chancellor Scholz that we haven't really seen in the last few years. A very boisterous form, combative. We saw him at one point take on Alice Weidel directly and accuse her of blowing hot air, not really having a plan when she talks about the energy problems, the energy prices in this country. He also accused Friedrich Merz of the centre-right, the man who's looking to take his job. He accused him of basically only introducing policies that will benefit the rich. I don't think, however, that despite his performance that it did enough. I mean, we looked at one of the polls last night. It showed that 32% of voters think Friedrich Merz won, 25% think Scholz. 18% think Weidel and the leader of the Greens were kind of won the race. So it looks like Merz did enough to continue as a front runner in this race. Having said that, 1/3 of voters still to decide who they're going to vote for. So in the last week of this election, all to play for.
This DW political correspondent Matthew Moore, always great to get your insights. Thanks so much.